Good afternoon, Madam Chair. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll, with the quorum being called, we'll start with item number 2, approval of the May 19th, 2025 meeting summary. No one has any changes. I'll take a motion.
It's my motion for approval.
Is that you, Mike?
That's Mike Sexton, yes.
Thanks.
Second by Ed Collins.
Thank you, Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Anybody opposed?
Emily, this is Richard. I need to recuse myself. I was absent that last meeting.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Okay. That will move into the information section of the agenda. Item number 3, update on the interchange bottleneck study. Will.
Hey, thank you. Will Lisko, Regional Planning Manager for CAMPO. This is an information item providing an update on CAMPO's interchange bottleneck study. This study got underway last year. I'm going to cover a few things in teamed up with our consultants at HDR during this presentation, including the overall goals of the project, the definition of a bottleneck. We looked at throughout the region all freeway to freeway interchanges, all freeway to major arterial, principal arterial interchanges, as well as all intersections of principal arterials with other principal arterials. So that ended up with a list of about 70 to 80 locations, and we're going to walk you through how we prioritized those locations. In addition, we're going to talk about the results of that prioritization exercise and next steps, what we're doing with that prioritization. Within the scope of this study, we have the capacity to develop planning level concepts for improvement at up to 4 of the prioritized locations. And we're going to talk a little bit about which locations might be moving forward into that next phase of work. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Leslie Pollock from HDR to talk through some of the methodology and results.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. So we started this project by identifying 3 primary goals for the bottleneck study. The first was to determine what interchanges and intersections in the region were those high contributors of congestion and crashes, prioritize those locations on a variety of factors, and then select, as Will said, those few projects that we can move forward to concept development to help us facilitate project readiness. Next slide. For this project, we defined bottleneck as a physical condition in the infrastructure that was leading to congestion, queuing, or delays. Definitely worth noting that we considered safety and crashes an integral part of the bottleneck study because crashes can have those short and long-term impacts on operations in the region. Next slide. For our baseline, we started with intersections and interchanges that were classified either as a principal arterial or higher. And with that criteria, there's 72 locations spread out through the CAMPO region, which we looked at a little bit further. We did not include intersections and interchanges inside of CapEx North, Central, and South because of the ongoing and upcoming projects in that area, but we looked at the rest in the region. Next slide. We developed prioritization criteria based on data that was readily available throughout all of these 72 intersections. We focused on traffic operations. Traffic operations included delay, historical volume growth and future demands. We also looked at the built environment. So of the roadway system, the speed limit on the roadway, but also active transportation and transit components within the environment. We looked at crashes to complete our safety evaluation, and then looked at a variety of factors for economics and demographics at each one of the locations. Next slide. All criteria are not created equal. We developed a weighting system that focused heavily on safety and traffic operations. So safety being the highest weighted criteria, followed by traffic operations, and applied these weights to the metrics that we pulled within each one of these categories. It's worth noting that we did a statistical analysis to make sure that we weren't double counting and being redundant in our criteria and our weighting, so that we were able to look at each one of these factors independently. Next slide. So here's the results of our prioritization and weighting. These are the top 15 intersections and interchanges within the region. Once we had this list, we started meeting with stakeholders to talk about each of the intersections and interchanges, issues they're seeing at these locations, and very importantly, any future projects, planned projects, proposed work that would help mitigate those concerns at each of the locations. And surprisingly, what we found is most of these intersections and interchanges have an upcoming project, have a planned project that will help address some of the operational and safety concerns. So after those stakeholder meetings, we whittled it down, and now we have a more succinct list of intersections. Next slide, please. From that initial list of 15, these are the top 4 locations that we're recommending we move forward with. The first location on the list is 71 in Riverside in Austin. That rose to the top because of fatal and serious injury crashes, but also volume to capacity ratios, either on the main line or frontage roads in that area. The next 2 locations are in San Marcos on I-35 at Wonderworld and 80. It was again fatal and serious injury crashes and then volume changes. At the SH80 intersection, we also had vulnerable populations as a driving factor to the selection of that location. And the last of our top 4 is Mopac and Parmer. And this was driven by serious injury crashes, VRC ratios, and vulnerable populations. So we're recommending that we do further study at these 4 locations, collect additional data, and move these into concept development. Next slide. I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we did reach out to stakeholders a couple times throughout the process to date. Prior to our prioritization, we developed a questionnaire. We heard back from 8 respondents, and this was generally about bottleneck locations in their region, details on the bottlenecks, issues that they see, and potential improvements at each location. We also talked about innovative intersections and what people are implementing for best practices. We will, after this next phase of study, go back to stakeholders on innovative intersections in particular and dive a little bit deeper there. And then we had those post-prioritization meetings where we met with the stakeholders. And that really helped us whittle those 15 locations down to 4 locations that have capacity to do proposed projects. Next slide. And this one's back to you, Will.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Just before we wrap up, I wanted to reemphasize some next steps in the process. Leslie presented on the 4 prioritized locations that within the scope of this study, we will move forward with the concept, planning level concept development. And that phase is going to include some collection of additional data, alternatives analysis at each of those locations, and ultimately development of some concept plans. There will be additional stakeholder feedback through the process at those 4 locations. both with the agencies that operate those locations, the jurisdictions that those locations are within, and then some broad feedback from the TAC as well. We will be revisiting the TAC to talk about the results of our concept development. And with that, that's the end of the presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Will and Leslie. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, this is Ed Collins. I was just wondering what the scope of dollar amount that we think that these might range. I know maybe it's too early to know that, but just wondering, are we talking 5 million, 10 million, 20 million or less?
Ed, your question was about the scope of the cost of the improvements?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I guess at this point, we're not quite sure. Based on some of the issues that we're seeing at specific locations, we might expect some of the proposed improvements might be more along the lines of near-term or mid-term improvements or quick wins compared to long-term improvements. We think that might be the case at the SH-71 and Riverside, or the White Riverside interchange. That rose to the top because of safety issues. So we're thinking some relatively low-cost safety countermeasures might be a outcome of this process. Other locations that have the rose to the top due to mobility issues, we might have more. So long answer to your question, Ed, but we're not quite sure at this phase. But some might have near-term improvements, some might have longer-term improvements, which would naturally be higher in cost.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you, Leslie and Will. We'll move to item number 4, presentation and discussion on the 2015 to 2024 State of Safety Report. And Jeff Kaufman with Texas A&M Transportation Institute is going to lead this for us.
Good afternoon. I'm here to provide an annual update on state of safety in the CAMPO region. This report looks at the last 10 years of crash data to provide an overview of how traffic safety has changed over the decade and how it relates to your performance measures. The report, which you've hopefully been provided, also provides an overview of 17 different focus areas, traffic safety, to help you see how and where you might want to focus your safety efforts. Next slide. Sorry, next slide, please. For total crashes, crashes has dropped slightly from last year, about 2.4% to 33,071. Prior to COVID, crashes were steadily increasing, pretty much going back to the way things were going prior to COVID. And the fact that 2024 you had a slight decrease is something to note. The expectation was that it would probably keep going upwards to mimic the trend that was occurring beforehand. Hopefully this is the start of a plateau or a downward trend as opposed to an anomaly. We shall see as time goes on. Next slide. In regards to regional crash rates, we look at the number of crashes that occur compared to the amount of travel that occurs, in terms of like the odds of you getting into a crash. Numbers of crashes that occur are one thing, but your odds of crashing compared to how much travel occurs is another measure that the feds look at in terms of performance measures for safety. Consistently, the region has performed better than the state as a whole, where you have far fewer crashes for vehicle miles traveled compared to the rest of the state. Next slide. In regards to regional fatalities, those fatalities have dropped 4.7% from last year to 283 deaths. You're down nearly 16% from your 20-year high, 336, which occurred back in 2022. we pretty much know that COVID had kind of played a role partially in traffic levels, lower traffic levels, higher deaths, in some ways congestion that wasn't there before has returned, and we find that congestion actually is I hate to say this, but a good way to help reduce fatalities, because it's to some degree it's harder to commit a maneuver that is potentially deadly when there's so many cars around you. Not that we're wishing for more traffic, but it has a impact on traffic safety in terms of the severity of crashes. The one thing of note about fatality rates in the region, though, is that prior to 2020, the region was experiencing around between 240, 250 deaths a year. While you're down for the last 5 years, you're still in the 280s. Hopefully that trend will continue downward in future years. Next slide. In regards to serious injuries, also, you're experiencing a downward trend from your 2022 high, not quite to the same degree as prior to COVID, but it's definitely a positive note that it is going downward. Next slide, please. Forgive me for this chart. Again, this is a combined number of fatalities and serious injuries for bicyclists and pedestrians in the region. And this is to match with the combined federal performance measures. If you want specifics, that will be in the larger report that you've been provided. Compared to last year, both bicycle and pedestrian fatalities, serious injuries were up slightly from 2023. In terms of how it broke down, though, it's essentially similar in terms of fatalities. Pedestrian fatalities are about 90% of bike-fed fatalities, where pedestrian serious injuries, it's about 75% in compared to bicycle injuries. Next slide. This is CAMPO has decided to adopt the state's Road to Zero performance measures, which calls for halving fatalities and serious injuries by 2035 and eliminating them by 2050. So last year, when I did this presentation, I provided a proposed schedule of decreases to help meet those measures. However, looking at this chart, which feeds off that schedule in regards to the targets and the actuals, if you look at the 2024 targets versus the actuals, you actually are still you are having more crashes, more fatalities that occurred than you were hopefully to have in 2024. Looking at 2025 on to 2050, this is the schedule that you would ideally be trying to hit in terms of reducing your figures in 2035 and to 2050. While it's still, as in terms of, I only have about 7 months of data for a 12-year period, but looking at this, the first 7 months of the year compared to last year at that time, the region's experienced 175 fatalities in 2024, and this is compared to 143 or in 2025. 175 fatalities versus 143 in 2024. You are lower in terms of serious injuries, 640 as in comparison to 791 in 2024. In terms of bicycle and pedestrian fatals and serious injuries, you're up slightly, 121 versus 112. Next slide and last slide, please. So this is a basic synopsis of what's in the rest of the report. The rest of the report looks at the various focus areas. It's been split into 17 different areas to kind of match the original report that was done about 4 or 5 years ago. This is where things rank in terms of those focus areas. In terms of the number of total crashes, the number of fatalities, and the number of serious injuries that are occurring in the area. This this is all 2024 data. While the numbers are, range from high to low in terms of crashes, the 5 areas, of course, and unfortunately they don't seem to be changing much of note, are that alcohol, speeding, and when I say speeding, I mean going above posted speeds or going at speeds that are not safe for what the current traffic is. Those who are unrestrained in their vehicles, motorcyclists and pedestrians, are overrepresented, specifically looking at the number of crashes versus the number of fatalities and serious injuries. Those 5 areas are experiencing more fatalities, serious injuries compared to the relative number of crashes. There's, again, more information in the report that you were provided. And with that, I will take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate it. We'll move to item 5, presentation of the draft CAMPO Regional Safety Action Plan. Nick.
Yeah, thank you, TAC members, and thank you everybody who participated in the county safety action plans and the task forces involved there. Your input has been crucial to the development of this plan. Your support for improving roadway safety going forward will be vital to the success of our efforts. Jeff's presentation gave us a good sense of the roadway safety trends, and the reports that he has done for a number of years now have been, quite an asset to our organization. We hope that the work of this regional safety action plan will lead to helping us move in the right direction in terms of safety. So I'd like to start by just giving us a sense of the gravity of this issue of roadway safety. Our state has had no days without a traffic death since November 7th of 2000. Locally, this means that there's been roughly 6 deaths per week within the time frame of the study. Thus, it is clear that in order to protect our families, our friends, our neighbors, we need to find and implement new solutions to making roadways safer. This draft regional safety action plan lays out potential solutions for CAMPO, member agencies, and our regional partners to take on. So as a reminder, we began this process in May 2024. And through the summer of 24 and the fall, we took on a process of drafting goals and objectives in consultation with the county safety task forces. Our data analysis and public and stakeholder engagement processes started at the county level and led us to identifying site-specific improvements and safety strategies in late 2024. Through the early months of 2025, we put forward recommendations to our task forces and met with the public again to present our initial ideas. Just as we finalized our county safety action plans this summer, our team brought together the findings of these county plans with a regional analysis of crashes to inform region-wide strategies and steps for implementation. We are now bringing the draft of the regional safety action plan to the TAC for feedback and guidance before an initial item to the Transportation Policy Board. The vision and goals in this plan are the same that we presented previously to the TAC and the TPP. Mirrors what is found in all of the county safety action plans, what has been adopted by a number of the commissioners' courts and local governments. The goals align with those adopted by the Travis County Commissioners Court and those found in the Texas State Highway Safety Plan. We went out to our various communities to better understand what roadway safety looks like and means to the people in the CAMPO region. Our 3 rounds of public engagement included both in-person events with the locations that you see here and online open houses with virtual boards and surveys. Our crash analysis also sought to better understand the disparities in roadway safety found in underserved communities. We looked at the same areas and groups found in the 2050 RTP as described on the left side of the slide. Our analysis shows that underserved communities face significantly higher risks when compared to other areas. It highlights the need for action and prioritization when we implement safety improvements and strategies. The county safety action plan summarized in this plan also allowed us to better understand what locations and contributing factors should be highlighted. One task was to identify crash emphasis areas that could help us focus on specific strategies and site improvements. The next steps to enacting these plans for the jurisdictions are to find funding for improvements, champion policy change, and begin to monitor progress in terms of projects completed or crashes reduced. Based on the work of the county safety action plans, the analysis of crashes at the regional level, and review of relevant safety issues, we have included in this plan 172 proposed improvements at corridors and 163 proposed improvements at intersections. These improvements are supported and furthered by a safety toolbox of systemic safety treatments, policy and program development, and behavioral strategies to be used by CAMPO and local partners. Strategies that we presented in this plan follow the safe systems approach that underlies the SS4A safety action planning process. I'll do a quick review of each of these areas, but greater detail can be found in the draft plan itself. Strategies for safer people include education and public outreach campaigns, enforcement and accountability, and targeting key populations like younger or older drivers. Safer speeds means working together for context-sensitive speed limit setting and speed management planning, using speed feedback signs, and implementing engineering and design countermeasures. Safer roads means continuing to update our network prioritization tools like the high injury network and furthering multimodal design and operational improvements. This one's safer speeds. Safer speeds means working together for context. Oh, sorry guys. Safer vehicles means promoting adoption of advanced vehicle technology, enhancing heavy and commercial vehicle safety. And finally, post-crash care means optimizing emergency response, clearance, and improving rapid detection and notification systems. Take on these strategies and get closer to our safety goals. This plan proposes the implementation framework seen here and offers potential roles for CAMPO, member agencies, and regional partners. The draft Regional Safety Action Plan included in the TAC packet is offered for your review. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns that you want to discuss. You can send any written feedback on the draft to me as well. Comments on this draft are due by the end of the day on September 5th. We will send a copy of this draft to the Transportation Policy Board for their review and present an information item on the draft plan at the September Transportation Policy Board meeting. We plan to bring the plan back to the TAC for recommendation after the September TAC meeting. We will present all relevant feedback up to that point from the TAC and the board members and potential edits to the plan. Thank you to everybody, and I can answer any questions now that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Anyone have any questions? Okay, everybody be sure to take a look at it. Get Nick any comments by September 5th, please.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll move to item 6, discussion on transportation demand management TDM subcommittee. Narev.
Thank you, Chair. As you all recall, the TDM subcommittee was formed in August 2021 by the Transportation Policy Board, and it met regularly for about 2 years until what funding CAMPO had expired. And then it took another 2 years for us to wait for the Federal Highway Administration to approve additional funds to continue the regional TDM program. In that time, the TDM subcommittee hasn't met. Now that Federal Highway Administration earlier this year did approve those funds, we are ready to kick things off back again. CAMPO has finished its procurement process that has come to an agreement with the consultant, the same one as last time. And so for this reformation of the TDM subcommittee, we are asking, again, just like last time, for membership to be limited to between 7 to 9 members. They don't have to be TAC members, but if they're employees who are specialized or have an interest in TDM that are a member of a TAC agency or an employee of a TAC agency, that's perfectly acceptable. And we will, again, 7-9, and we will come back to TAC next month to formalize the membership within that subcommittee. So if you have any nominations, please email those to me, and we will then look at how many nominations we actually have before we come back to the TAC to see who they want to serve on the subcommittee. And that's it. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Okay. Thanks, Jared. And when did you want the nominations by?
Oh, that's a really good question. I guess a week from today is good.
A week from today. Got it.
Sorry.
How about a week from tomorrow? Since
A week
next
from
week's
tomorrow
holiday.
is even better since it's not late.
Okay. 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 So anyone get your nominations to Nirav by September 2nd, please.
Could I ask a quick question?
Please,
Was
Kathy, go ahead.
Fast enough a minute ago. Just wondering, Nirav, whether you could give us a brief overview of what the committee members would be doing, what they're tasked with, how often do you think they'll meet, and what was the duration of this project? So that may help people decide who they want to nominate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last time we had the subcommittee, the terms were going to be for 2 years. And the role of the subcommittee was basically to provide regional guidance for TDM to make sure CAMPO staff was implementing the TDM program in accordance with the plan, or any changes to transportation trends that have occurred, as particularly when the plan was first adopted. It was 2019, and then the pandemic happened soon after. So to make sure that CAMPO is basically adopting a regional approach to the TDM program. And if you recall, Kathy, we were on the verge of talking about what performance measures we thought would be acceptable to monitor the effectiveness of a TDM program, when that was actually going to be the next meeting that we had. We never got to meet afterwards. So hopefully we can get back to that discussion with this newly formed group. And how frequently? I'm sorry, how frequently? Oh, I'm sorry. And the frequency would be once every 2 months.
Okay, and it'll be a couple years, 2 years again, you think?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Anyone else have any questions?
Nirav, do you have a list of who was on that committee at the time it was disbanded?
Yes, I can provide that we can provide that to the TAC. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Nirav. We'll move to item 7, report on transportation planning activities.
I'll start on this and I'll hand it off, Ryan, for your announcement as well. We just wanted to first off start off by congratulating TxDOT on the reconstruction of the RM 1431 bridge at Cow Creek in just 29 days. Of course, that was the previous bridge had been washed out during the flooding last month, and with this reconstruction, TxDOT was able to very quickly reconnect the parts of our region there between Marble Falls and Lago Vista and that area, and Travis and Vernon counties that really depend on that connection. So very impressive reconstruction there.
Right. Thanks, Chad. So I've got a couple of announcements. One's kind of routine, is that we're going to be developing the next iteration of the Transportation Improvement Program to be approved by the board next spring. So I'll be reaching out to the transit partners, TxDOT, and the other usual suspects for projects that need to be included in the updated, I think it's the 2027 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program for the spring. And then the other kind of big announcement is in about 3 weeks, we're going to release the next call for projects. We're looking around $350 million, on which we're going to be allocating to projects in the region. And so that process is going to kick off. Tentatively, we are scheduled for September 15th to send that announcement out and when the application will be ready to go. We did have 2 meetings of the scoring committee of the Transportation Policy Board over the summer. Very minor changes are going to be discussed at the September board meeting, and then we're going to preview the schedule at that meeting. That's on September 8th. And once we get the green light from the policy board, we'll be making sure everything is updated and be releasing that call for products. So if anybody has any questions about that, please let me know. I've had a lot of sponsors go ahead and reach out to me. They want to discuss their potential submittals. So I just want to offer that up to anyone who's considering submitting over the next 3 weeks. If you want to reach out to me, see if we can schedule some time, happy to work with you and kind of go through your submittals. We know it's a lot of work and looking forward to a lot of submissions and excited about the process, but we'll be getting that kicked off in about 3 weeks. I'll take any questions about that.
Okay. Any questions, Kathy?
I do have one. Thank you, Emily. Brian, can you remind us what categories of funding there'll be? I know it'll be STBG, but isn't there some leftover TASA and maybe some other pots too?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the majority of it is Surface Transportation Block Grant. We are rolling over. I'm actually looking to look at it. I got it right in front of me. We are looking to roll over and allocate about $33 million in transportation alternative set-aside funding. And we're going to assume at the time being the carbon reduction program is still existing until, that changes in the reauthorization potentially. That's a high likelihood, but right now that is still, it's authorized through 26. And so we'll be including that in the project call. But obviously, I think we'll have some updated information on that program in particular by the time we're doing the project selection in the spring. But the vast majority, over $300 million, is going to be Surface Transportation Block Grant funding. So hopefully that answers that. And we'll be programming for fiscal years 2028 through 2031. The TASA funding is available a little bit earlier for fiscal year 27 because that some of that is rollover from the previous project call. So good question. Thank you, Gabby.
Yes, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Kathy. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, we'll go to item 8, which are TAC chair announcements. Just from this meeting, September 5th, the comments are due to Nick on the safety action plan, and September 2nd to Narev for your TDM subcommittee appointments. The next policy board meeting will be on September 8th at 2 p.m. And our next TAC meeting is on September 22nd at 2 p.m. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting.